So we are officially 2 days away from Xenoblade 3. I am thrilled, I'm excited. A lot of you guys who have supported my Xenoblade videos, I'm sure you're excited as well. And I've got another one for you. It's called my top 10 predictions. It's not really a top, it's just 10 predictions. So I want to just kind of express my thoughts, because even though I don't want to be that guy who, like, analyzes the directs and the trailers specifically for the story, because I want to be surprised by the story content, I'm just gonna unavoidably have thoughts about it, because of course I'm a longtime Xenoblade fan. I can't really I can't really escape that, right? And I just want to express it, because when we look back on this video, it'd be fun to see if I was just a genius, if I was just a mastermind, or we could just look back and laugh at how wrong I was. That's always fun, right? Before I get to that, though, I do have a few disclaimers. Number one, we will be discussing Xenoblade 1 and Xenoblade 2 spoilers. I'm not going to get, like, too in-depth about it, but they will be mentioned. So if you're watching this video, having not played those games or watched those games, you're kind of messing up. Second disclaimer, this is more of a warning, just in general. Xenoblade 3 has been leaked. Obviously uploaded this video and then my Xenoblade 2 video essay, but aside from that, I've been avoiding YouTube comments and the recommended tab and searching Xenoblade on YouTube, and I recommend you do the same, because again, we're only 2 days away. It would be a massive shame to be spoiled when we're almost at the finish line, you know? So just want to give that warning out just to the general community if you haven't heard, and also to explain why I might be ignoring your comments. Third disclaimer, which is more of just a happy thing I wanted to say. Thank you so much for the support you've shown me on my Xenoblade 2 retrospective. I am blown away. Obviously, I am not a big content creator, not even remotely. So to see that it has already gotten 2K views, my tweet on Twitter even got a lot of support. I don't know how you guys found me, because maybe you watched the video, then clicked on my Twitter link, and then I don't know, but either way, I'm so grateful to see all you guys show your love for Xenoblade 2 and just for Xenoblade in general. It just makes me feel a lot more validated, you know? Whenever you want to share your happiness, your love for anything, your passion, it's nice to see people, you know, just reciprocate. And social media and all that video game discourse can be so negative and so dramatic for no reason. I just want to kind of share some love, and you guys, I'm grateful for the support you're able to show me. As I've stated before, the Xenoblade community can be somewhat divisive at times, you know, not everybody's great, I ain't gonna lie, but it was nice to see just all unite, especially for the whole build-up to this game. It just seemed like the community, no matter which Xenoblade game was your favorite, we were all just united. It's just been a happy time. I'm very grateful for all of it. Without further ado, let's get to prediction number 1. By the way, I tried to order these predictions in terms of likeliness, starting from very likely to unhinged. Kind of a safe one in my opinion, like super safe. And I think it's Ethel and Kamuravi are their names. They will become heroes and join your party. So the way they've been presented, they're like the main the most well-known warriors from the Kevis and Agnes armies respectively. Kind of like the Morag and Zeke, where like, yeah, you'll fight them a few times, but they end up joining you in the end anyway. For those who don't know, if you didn't catch up on the direct, there's heroes, optional characters you can add to your party by doing side quests, but this case might be they just join automatically. But either way, I just don't see them being antagonists or completely not playable for the whole game. And if I am right about that, I would be super happy, because both Ethel and Kamuravi have great character designs. I'm sure they'll be great characters, just personality-wise and backstory-wise and all that. So that gets me very optimistic, honestly, about just the whole scope of the party members you can get. Number 2, I thought of putting at number 1 because it seems kind of confirmed based on some trailers and some things they've said about the plot, but I could be wrong still. So basically, I think the world of Ionios was created because basically some interdimensional mishaps. Because at the end of Xenoblade 1, Shulk creates a new world for the people of Bionis and Mechonis. And at the end of Xenoblade 2, Kloss creates a new world for the people of Allrest. And they both end up being in a boundless ocean. At first, I thought it was the same ocean. I thought that was so cool. But it seems to be a red herring, because I'm pretty sure they've confirmed that Xenoblade 3 is when they connect. And to support this, we do see in Xenoblade 1 Definitive Edition, Future Connected, that there's all these fog beasts and they come out of like rips in the rips in reality, like tearing through dimensions. I think that's pretty much, I mean, the title of the Future Connected pretty much implies it, right? That reality, the dimensions, things are going wrong, and I think that's because reality-bending things that happens at the end of both Xenoblade 1 and 2, like that was a little much. A little much to happen at the same time. There's gonna be consequences for that, you know? It's not gonna just be this happy thing, like, hey, we get a new world to ourselves, that's great. Well, no, it's not that simple. Now, the reason I put this at number 2 is because I think the reason for the worlds joining may be different. Some character, maybe, like, because in Xenoblade 2, I think they confirmed this. For some reason, I can't think of the name. Where you build the robot in real life for Siren, there's like some real lore on there that they provide. Like some Kingdom Hearts-esque way of giving lore, where they say that there's other world trees, not just the one you see in Xenoblade 2. So maybe some character messes with that, and that's why the worlds collide. Number 3. So, at the Xenoblade Direct, they showed for the first time, I think, these villains in red. It seems like they're villains, at least. They're very gloomy and dark, and they wear silly outfits. The Council, I believe, and they're the ones who are basically maybe not leading the nations is the correct way, but they're advising them. And they're just fully portrayed as antagonists in the trailers. However, a Xenoblade trope, which is going to be my prediction, is that you often see a villain, but then they end up being justified in their beliefs. But also, there's at least one moment in the game where you sincerely root for them. So, for example, in Xenoblade 1, you have Egil, right? Egil's like the main force you're going up against because you're still on this revenge story, and obviously you want to save the Bionis from the Mechonis. Eventually, you find out, of course, Zanza's the villain. And then that's when you start rooting for Egil, because it's like, wait, hold on, we started getting on some friendly terms here, and now this guy's here? Yo, Egil beat his ass. Unfortunately, Egil does not beat his ass. In Xenoblade 2, you have Torna. They seem like, you know, kind of the straightforward, you just want to kill humanity and all that. But then you find out more about them, you start getting more attached to them, and then they start going against Amalthus during the World Tree Climb, and that's very exciting. And honestly, at least for me, I was rooting all the way for Torna. It's gonna be something like that for the Council. I don't know exactly how it'll play out. Maybe they'll be going against the real enemy that the Van Damme character keeps talking about. At the very least, I think this is true of their main leader, it seems like. The one with the dark hair, I don't remember their name, but they look like the edgiest one, so they must have some sort of, like, nice heart deep down. Prediction number 4, I was thinking of bumping up as well, because it seems like if you're gonna have interlinking and the whole fusing mechanic, how could you not do this? But there's a chance it won't happen. But 4 is Nia and Melia will interlink and become their own Ouroboros. Now that could be perhaps against their will, kind of like at the beginning of Xenoblade 3. They showed how Van Damme is the one who activated the whole interlinking between the party members. It could be like that, or it could be they kind of band together to face a greater threat. Maybe even the party members, if they truly feel as if they are a problem and they feel like there's no other way, maybe they'll interlink to fight the party members. If they're gonna pair up with anybody, it'd have to be with each other. It'd just be this beautiful moment, this really cool fan service moment that would also make sense story-wise. There's some kids talking outside, I'm sorry if you hear that. They're just very excited this whole Nia and Melia interlinking. It's pretty rad, I agree. This is not an official prediction, but to add on to that, I do think there's a chance they will be playable, at least for some time. Like, maybe if they do interlink and fight like a greater threat, maybe you play as them for that time being. Or maybe they join the party, like, towards the end. Who knows? But I do think it is possible that there's at least some segment of time that they're playable. Again, I just feel like both in fan service and also story-wise, it just makes sense. You could just see it going in that direction, even if you don't really know those characters or aren't attached to them. It just seems like that's something that would happen. Number 5, the real enemy that Van Damme is talking about is going to be connected to Klaus or the Conduits. Now, it could just be its own thing that we just don't know about, that's maybe even unique to Ionios. Easy for me to say. But I do think, like, it might not be, like, in your face, because they do want Xenoblade 3 to kind of stand on its own. I just feel like the real enemy has to be the cause, or at least a cause, of why the worlds were created. And thus, based on what I said earlier, I feel like that has to be connected to Colossus and the Conduits, because they both contributed to Xenoblade 1 and 2. I will say, I want it to be connected to Colossus and the Conduit. I don't necessarily want it to be Colossus. Like, I don't want it to be a third form of Colossus. I don't want it to be Zanza coming back. I wouldn't mind, right? Like, whatever they give me, I will interpret myself and just enjoy as much as I can and go from there. But just on surface level, face value, I don't really want it to be just some other form of Colossus. I want it to be related, and that's what I think is going to happen, but I don't want it to be like, oh, hey, Colossus again, another form of Colossus again. Like, Xenoblade 2, they already did that huge reveal. I don't think you can capture that magic again. Number 6 is a prediction that I used to be so confident in. Like, I firmly believed this would happen. As soon as I saw the reveal trailer, I was infinitely confident. And now, for some reason, I can't really say why, as we grow closer to the release date, I'm just like, it's starting to wane. I don't know. I think it's a defense mechanism, because I really want it to happen, but I don't want to disappoint myself by thinking it will happen. It's that Pyra, Mithra, and Poppy will appear in Xenoblade 3. Not just reference, not just some cute flavor text, not some lore you read in a library, not some one-off quote by Nia. I used to have friends like that. No. They'll actually appear and play some role in the story. It doesn't have to be major, just some role. Them appearing is just so likely because of the nature of their existences, right? Like, I could see it being, like, pretty sad, because there's a cutscene in Xenoblade 2. Poppy wants Mithra to destroy her if she ever becomes a threat to humanity. Because the thing is, like, Kevis and Agnes are clearly desperate to live. So it could be that Poppy is, whether she's forced or she just does it willingly, she becomes, like, you know, a machine that in the war. And again, it's sad, but I think that's a great way to utilize Poppy, because otherwise I guess she would just either be turned off or die off screen. As for Pyra and Mithra, I think it would be a good chance to clarify some details on Xenoblade 2. And Xenoblade 2 ends in kind of an ambiguous way, where you don't know if Pyra and Mithra's memories are intact. You don't know how they'll function now that the Aegis' power is gone. On the outside looking in, it just feels like a huge elephant in the room that Nia is presumably the leader of Agnes, and she has all these friends, these best friends, who could survive and be there with her, but they're just not. Number 7. If you played Xenoblade 1 and 2, you are used to major characters dying, but I'll be straight up. In Xenoblade 3, I predict a party member will die. They're straight up dying. They're dead. Not Fiora. They're not pulling a Fiora. They're just dead. Okay? Now, there's reasons why I think this. Number 1, with the Xenoblade Direct, they showed the whole thing about Mio only having 3 months to live. And that seems like a bait to me. I mean, it could just be Mio dying, but I could see that as a red herring. Like, maybe another party member dies. Maybe Noah dies. But I'm just saying, I just want to put it out there that maybe it's not Mio. Maybe it's somebody else. You never know. But if it is Mio, I will cry, because it just, based on what I've seen, I love Mio's design. I love her personality. I just love everything about her. She honestly probably is my favorite character. Close is Uni, just because she reminds me of Mithra a little bit. The second reason I think this will happen is because it's just elevating the stakes, right, from Xenoblade 1 to 3. Okay, technically in Xenoblade 2, this already happened with Van Damme, right? But I'm talking about, like, a more long-term party member. That's why I think it'll elevate the stakes. Like, Xenoblade 1, you thought Fiora died, but not really. Xenoblade 2, Van Damme died, but he's not a long-term party member. Xenoblade 3, how do we elevate the stakes? A party member actually dies. A long-term party member will die in Xenoblade 3. Number 8 is where we start to get a little unhinged. Now, I think this one is relatively safe, honestly, because of one major factor I will bring up. But we are starting to get into, like, Nara, you're starting to reach a little bit. Nara, you're starting to be a little crazy, okay? So, just giving you guys a warning. Clones. So, hold on, hear me out. For those who watch my Twitch streams, it's kind of a running joke that for every game I play, I predict that there's clones. I forget why it happens. Even when I played New Pokemon Snap on stream, a game which story has no consequence, I was like, clones, man! There has to be something more! Clones! But I'm actually sincere with Xenoblade 3, because in the latest Direct, they showed these pods with the characters in them. And from what I understand, that was implying that that's where the characters start. They start in these pods. I guess they're just rehabilitating or whatever until they get to a certain age to go to war, and then that's where the 10 years of life actually start. But that begs the question, how do they get in that pod in the first place? Are they just like, they just are born naturally then instantly put in those pods? Maybe that's the case. I want to mainly point to the resemblance between Mio and Nia. A lot of us thought that Mio was Nia when we first saw them. And there has to be a reason why they look alike. There's no way. It would be really strange if they just looked alike for no reason. And I think the reason for that is because of clones. Okay? They're so strapped for life, they need as many lives as they can to engage in this war, that, you know, natural reproduction, that's not good enough anymore. It's just not. It's not going to cut it. They need more bodies. And that's why clones. They develop clones. Mio, specifically, is a clone of Nia. Mio has, like, similar genetic makeup or whatever. She's her own person, right? But she just has similar genetic makeup. And plus, that might explain why this Van Damme looks like Xenoblade 2's Van Damme. It's not a perfect resemblance, but they do have similar features. But to be fair, I think that's more likely just a fan service thing, because we had Hugo in Torna, basically just Nile from the main game. It's just kind of a fan service thing, you know, like, hey, we know you like this character a lot, so here they are in a more major role in the story. It could just be that, because Van Damme was a popular character in Xenoblade 2. But if that isn't the case, I'm just saying, man, clones, okay? Clones. If that's the case, that opens up a whole can of worms, because that means that they could have clones of the party members, right? Of Xenoblade 1 and 2. That would be insane. I'm not predicting that, but I'm just saying, clones. When you have clones, anything can happen. That's why I predicted, baby. Number 9 is a huge call-out, okay? I don't care if I get some hate for saying this, alright? I don't care. I mentioned Van Damme earlier, mentioned how he's a fan favorite, and now they're making him look like a fan favorite. How convenient that they're making this Van Damme look like a fan favorite character. How convenient that this Van Damme just happened to be there at the beginning of the game, just happened to cause them to become an Ouroboros. Too convenient. This Van Damme is evil. He's telling you about the real enemy that's causing this whole thing. Wrong. He has ulterior motives. He is going to be the true antagonist of Xenoblade 3. Now, I know this sounds absurd, and I honestly don't really have much more evidence to give you, but I think that would be an awesome plot twist, because like I said, he looks like a fan favorite character, so you inherently want to adhere to him. He also helps you, quote unquote. He's going to be like the Dixon, where it seems like he's helping you, he seems like he's guiding you along the way, but it just turns out, nah, sucker, you got played. Maybe he's not the true antagonist. He could just be, you know, like Dixon was the disciple of Zanza. It could be that sort of thing. But I don't know. Like, I don't think this Van Damme is going to be good for the whole game. I sincerely, it's just a feeling in my bones, okay? This Van Damme is sus. If you didn't notice they were sus, well, I just pointed it out to you. So be aware that he is sus. Get ready. And if he is a clone, by the way, if he's a clone, that could be like an intentional thing. Like maybe he body swapped. he dug up, dude, this would be so dark. He dug up Van Damme's corpse and like created his own clone, and then he body swapped to that well, it doesn't really look like his skin color's different enough. It doesn't matter. There's just this, he's not good at creating clones, so it wasn't a perfect translation. But he became that Van Damme to invoke the legend of Van Damme, because at the end of the beginning of chapter 4, Rex asks Minoth to write a play about Van Damme, and I think he does do that. I think Van Damme's story is passed down throughout Legends. He wants to kind of like, you know, just give some sort of like subliminal message to the player and everybody in Ionios, like, hey, doesn't this like reek of a hero? Doesn't this reek of a good guy? Sus. Clones. Last but not least, number 10. Number 10! This is the hot prediction right here. If you didn't think the last one was hot, this one's hot. Here's something I noticed. This is from a tweet from Nintendo America and also the official Xenoblade Japan Twitter. They tweeted that the weapons of the characters in Ionios, they can just appear, and they're called blades. Interesting. Interesting that they're called blades when we already see blades in this game. Maybe it's like a cultural thing. Maybe, you know, the word blade referring to a living being is just like taboo now, which I think is fair. Like, that's just rude to call like a living being a blade, a weapon for war, right? It could be Nia kind of wanting to rid the world of that prejudice. Or it could mean something deeper. Because even if that explains why those characters aren't called blades anymore, and these weapons are called blades, that doesn't explain why they're able to just magically appear them. Doesn't that seem a little sus to you? It is to me. Because if you recall from Xenoblade 2, the only characters who could do that, that's because of the blade itself. Not because of some cool weapon they bought. No, that comes along with them. That is inherent to them. That must mean that Xenoblade 2 blades, they have a much more prevalent presence in this game. It's not just Agnes, it's the whole world, because we see the people of Kevis doing it too. So, my hot prediction is that most characters in Xenoblade 3 are a form of blade. What do I mean by a form of blade? Just a normal blade, a flesh eater, or blade eater. Okay, or maybe just some sort of advanced experiment, because flesh eaters and blade eaters are experiments. They could have a new form of blade. Because see, to me this would make a lot of sense, because in Xenoblade 2, a lot of the characters in the party are revealed to be blades. And that's a big plot twist. Now, how do we, remember, call back to a previous prediction, how do we elevate the stakes? How do we elevate the plot twists? Most characters in the world are a form of blade, not just your party members. And it would make sense too, because normally you'd see the crystal on their body, but in Xenoblade 3, they're a lot more clothed than in Xenoblade 2. The only one that's like resembling Xenoblade 2, which I think is very funny, but also a nice detail, is Senna. Like, she's a normal blade, and she kind of looks like a normal blade from Xenoblade 2. Like, she looks like she could be in Xenoblade 2, the way she's, like, dressed. Which is not a scandalous thing to say. But, like, it's just true. Like, I love how they designed her that way. But I think there's something they're all hiding that, like, is like, commonplace to them, but not to the player. Like, to them, they're not deliberately hiding it. That's not what I'm saying at all. It's just that the way that the clothing trends have become is just coincidentally hiding their whatever core crystal placement they have, because it's not just the chest. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking this is a huge stretch. You know, you're thinking, oh, just because they can make their weapons appear like a blade doesn't mean that they're all blades. Well, let me tell you this, okay? Let me tell you this. There's more. There's more evidence of this. A magical word. A single word. Clones. Okay? Think back to my clone theory. Think back to it. I basically said, hey, they're using this genetic makeup to create more people because they're in need of more people. Does that sound familiar to you? Because if you've played Xenoblade 2, it should be familiar. What did that resemble? Blades. Kloss created the core crystals based off the DNA of people from his actual life. From the people of that world, that Earth that he used to live on. It wasn't just magically appearing. He took that DNA and made that into blades. And this would go back to what I'm saying about them, the living beings not called blades anymore, because why call the living being blades if that's what the status quo is? If blades become the status quo, then there's no reason to just call them blades. Just call them normal people, right? You can call the weapons blades to have some reference to how their weapons work, right? It just makes so much sense to me. Look, all I'm saying is that when people died in Xenoblade 1 and 2, their bodies didn't dissipate into the ether. You know whose bodies did dissipate into the ether? Blades. Okay? You know when you were sobbing when you saw Jin die in Xenoblade 2? That's what's gonna happen to all these people. We see it happening. You know why? Because they're blades. There's some form of blades I'm telling you guys, I'm putting everything into this. That's why it's number 10. Not because it's unlikely, not because it's unhinged, but because I say the best for last. Hope you enjoyed this video. It was a fun time, fun discussion. Again, this video is just for fun. It's not a serious analysis, not a serious discussion. I just wanted to kind of express some of the thoughts that have been in my head. Hopefully, you know, again, I'm not really looking at the YouTube comments because I'm very just deathly afraid of seeing spoilers, but if you guys want to come to my Twitch channel, I will be streaming Xenoblade 3 this Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern, and I'll be streaming every day until I beat the game at 6 p.m. Eastern. Well, if I can, then obviously I won't, but I'll try to. I might, like, cut up my playthrough and put it on YouTube if you guys are interested, but, because this is, like, unprecedented, right? Because ever since, this is the first time, at least to most of the viewers I have now, this is the first time a new Xenoblade game is coming out. Like, as far as I've known most of my regulars on Twitch and YouTube, it's like you guys already knew me for being a Xenoblade fan and a Xenoblade 2 fan. But now it's like, oh, we're uncovering this new spectacle together. I think it's very exciting. So maybe I will post it on YouTube for that reason. But I do at least highly suggest visiting my Twitch channel if you want to see me play the game in real time. It'll be a lot of fun. You can perhaps kill the wait for Xenoblade 3 by watching my 3.5-hour Xenoblade 2 retrospective. Or you can just catch me on YouTube or Twitch whenever the next time we encounter each other. So thank you for watching. Thank you for the support for the retrospective. And happy Xenoblade 3. It's very soon.